Alright, so for today's video, I wanted to talk about Dragon Age, the VeilGuard. So a brief little history and backstory. I'm a Mass Effect fan. Mass Effect is my #1 game of all time, regardless of the genre, the universe, the this, the that. Mass Effect is the end all be all when it comes to my pinnacle of gaming. So keep that in mind throughout the rest of this video, because that's kind of the standard that I'm looking for. I'm kind of a sucker for the BioWare formula, to be completely honest with y'all. It's just the way that they've created this, where it's like you essentially get a character, your own custom character, you drop them into a already established universe, and you just go out, experience the world, fight against impossible odds. I'm just a sucker for the BioWare formula, and it worked for me a lot in Mass Effect. That's why it became my favorite game of all time. And we're going to talk about here with Dragon Age how it's a little bit different, but the formula still works. So let's talk about Dragon Age 1 and Dragon Age 2. So I wasn't around for that era of gaming. That's back when I only played like sports video games like NBA 2K or Madden or even Minecraft. However, the general reception that I understand from the community is that everybody loves Dragon Age 1. And Dragon Age 2, good, but it's not to the level that the original was on. And then you come all the way down to Dragon Age Inquisition, which is the one that I ended up playing. And I thought that it was mid. Now, that could be due to myself, because I didn't play it until like nearly almost 10 years after the game released. It was like the gameplay mechanics were kind of on that PS3, PS4 type of timing, while I was already on the PlayStation 5, so maybe a reason as to why I didn't enjoy the game as much. But for me, when I played Dragon Age Inquisition, I like the setup, I like the story. They drop you in, it's the, what do you call them, the veils or whatever. It's like monsters coming out of these little portals, and then they quickly assemble you into a group of 3, and you're fighting against these monsters, and then you defeat them, and then this whole town, this whole area basically worships you as a god, like, oh, that's the guy who saved the world. And then they put you into this sort of leadership role where you're building up this war organization known as the Inquisition, and you're like, oh, this game might be cooking with a little bit of something. But like I said, the gameplay mechanics, because of the time that I played it in, it felt just bad. I couldn't really get into it. A lot of the missions felt pretty pointless. And Inquisition, I would say that it's like a mid decent game. Nothing too high, nothing too low, honestly. Overall, if I were to look at the Dragon Age franchise, I would say that it's anywhere from B- to B tier type of franchise. But it's one of those games where you look at and you're like, this is fun, this is cool, I can get into this. So that's the setup, for me at least, before I played the VeilGuard. Now we also have to talk about wokeness, because that's the biggest controversy with this game. And me personally, I don't care about wokeness. I used to be a Christian when I was younger, and although I left a lot of that stuff behind in my life, I still hold many of those core values near and dear to my heart. The family structure, the idea of loving people and this and that, blah blah blah. I'm pretty in tune with conservative values, and I don't mean politically, I just mean as a person. I'm pretty traditional and more old school. With that being said, the anti-woke, the anti, they say the LGBTQ, the this, the that, they're forcing black people in, the anti-woke stuff, it does appeal to my conservative views as a human being. But then I sat back one day and I really thought about it, and I was like, I don't care about wokeness at all. I thought about Star Wars and George Lucas, and he basically said that Star Wars was based on a whole war. Actually, and I thought about it, like, do I care? Let's say in Star Wars, if they made Luke Skywalker gay, that wouldn't change anything for me. Let's say in, I don't know, Iron Man from the Avengers. Let's say he came out, let's say they turned him into a black guy who was pansexual. Would that matter to me? I will find it a bit strange to make that type of change, but if it works type of thing. Like, I generally don't really care too much about wokeness. And then honestly, as a black person, I do like some of the inclusion, having characters that I could kind of look at and see myself in, or know that my younger siblings are going to one day be able to look at these characters and be like, oh, it's one of me on screen. In general, when it comes to wokeness, I'm not necessarily pro wokeness, but I'm not really against it either. I just see it, I notice it, and I keep it pushing. And trust me, I'm a conspiracy guy, okay? I'm one of the biggest conspiracy people you can find. But even with that, the whole, they're trying to turn your kids gay and put the wokeness into video games, that just doesn't really appeal to me. Now let's talk about what I like about the VeilGuard. The first thing that quickly caught my eye is that you're not special in this game. One thing that was very different and really drastically different in Dragon Age Inquisition is that in that game, I felt as though like you were the savior of the universe. You were special. You were that guy. But in Dragon Age Inquisition, you're not special. They drop you into the game. I forget the town, the name of the town, but they drop you into this game where you're chasing after Solus, and you're in a group of 3, and then you fight against Solus, and you're not even the main one who confronts him. You're like just a random guy on the side helping out with the mission. Even when you defeat Solus, you had help along the way. You know, every step of the way, it was the main character was involved with the game, but the main character was not, the central number one focus of everything. And I really enjoyed that. That was like a change of pace to me, where it's like, I'm in this universe, everything going around is cool and all, but I'm not the number one end all be all of everything. Now, later in the game, you sort of become special and you get this reputation for yourself from the actions and going through missions and things of that nature. But I do like the fact that they started this game out with the idea that you're not that guy, you're just like everyone else, and just enjoy the world. The next thing that I like about this game is the gameplay. I'm always a sucker for the age-old hack and slash. I played Baldur's Gate 3 a little while ago, and I enjoyed Baldur's Gate to a certain point, but the gameplay can be a bit harsh and a bit frustrating at times, especially as someone who doesn't have a deep history into D&D gameplay and lore. So, that idea of the whole tabletop action sort of thing didn't really work for me in that game. And I'm always a sucker for, the age old, you press square, you press X and you hit someone. And it works here in this game. Surprisingly, this game is pretty hard, honestly. I play on like medium level difficulty, and even the bosses on that level give me a pretty tough time. And I think my character, at the current time of filming this video, he's like a level 26, but even with that, he still struggles to defeat and fight against most of the main bosses, or even the lower level bosses in this game. And then they give you like these special moves, special abilities, and your other characters in your party have that as well. I think one character, he has like a bird, I forget the name of it, it's like a griffin, that's what it is. He has a griffin alongside of him, so the griffin randomly comes in out of nowhere and destroys enemies. One of the funny things in this game is like a kicking ability, where your main character, you run up to someone and then just kick them in the face, which works for some enemies, but the more you go into the game, sometimes you fight up against dragons, so it's kind of funny to see, the main character run out and kick a dang 100 feet tall dragon, But outside of that, the next thing that I would say is the graphics. Now, the graphics is not necessarily a realistic sort of take on the graphics approach when it comes to gaming, but the way that I would describe it is that it looks slick. Like the lighting that they used on the characters, the shading, the shadows, it just looks clean, it looks smooth, it looks slick, and I really enjoy the graphics of the game. Something else that I would say is that overall, this is a pretty simple game. Again, referencing Baldur's Gate, I have to kind of reference that because it's kind of similar. An issue that I had with Baldur's Gate and other games as well in the past, Star Wars, Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, is that I am not a fan of the puzzles in video games. I'm just not. I've tried to get into them, but it's just not something that I enjoy doing. There are a limited amount of hours in the day, technically 24, but it's really 12, but it's not really 12 because you got things like work and school and blah, blah, blah. So you really only have a limited amount of time throughout the day to enjoy yourself. So if I get on a video game for, a limited time of about 2 hours, I want to be able to play the game. And I hate in other video games where they try to be so super complex and make everything so detailed, where, sometimes I'll just be walking around for 30 minutes plus not knowing what to do. But this game is simple, it's straightforward. It basically tells you, go over here. It tells you, interact with this person, do this, do that. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it's refreshing to play a game where I don't have to walk around for 30 minutes at a time to find out what I'm doing. The next thing that I want to talk about is the variety of characters. I'm really loving the cast so far in the game. You have, I think her name is Task. I forget how to pronounce it. Her character, I'll have to make a whole video on it. It's a bit interesting how she's had an issue with womanhood, but at the same time she's presented as this pretty strong, pretty masculine sort of figure. And when you first meet her, she's pretty condescending and mean, but the more you get to know the character, she's like nice and sweet and warm. So it's just very interesting, that character. You have another character, Lucanus, who's like involved with this demon spirit like Naruto, but at the same time, he was in jail for a certain period of time. I think it was like a year, or it could have been a little longer. He's from like this assassin nation known as the Crows. Really strong, really interesting character. Another one you have, I think her name is Harding. She was from the Inquisition in the last game, which is like, again, like I said, a military organization. And she also has some history where she got infected with this secret magical ability. And throughout the game, you're trying to figure out, is this corrupting her? Is it trying to help her? What does this magic ability mean? I can go on and on, but generally the characters are pretty diverse. They're unique, and I like to see it. We could talk about the story. It's pretty cheesy, cliche, been done before probably, but it works. It's simple. It's a story about these ancient gods come back from being imprisoned, and you have to stop them. The gods themselves go out and acquire this army. They go to the greedy of our society, the evil of our society, and use manipulation to bring them onto their side. And you're trying to fight against them. You assemble your own team and you go at it. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but again, it works. I don't really have too much of an issue with the story. You can say the writing and the dialogue at times can be a bit strange, but for the most part, I think that both the story and the writing gets the point across that they were intending to. The missions in this game hit. I don't even know how many I can name, but I know like back to back to back. I'm early in this game. I'm like, dang, they're really going at it. Like every mission feels like a main mission Omega level threat type of situation. So I really appreciated that. I know a lot of games, they kind of like to, slow things down and build it up and slow things down and build it up. But so far in this game, I feel like the pacing with the story has just been very, very well done. The world itself, like I said, I didn't play the first two games because that was before my era. So I'm not too familiar with the full world of Dragon Age. But so far from what I was introduced to in the Inquisition and this game, I like it. You have monsters running around, dragons, you have elves, the human race, the this, the that. Overall, the world itself, it feels real. It feels like an actual place. The character introductions, some of them done better than others, but I do like the fact that they decided to making it important to seeing characters for the first time, not just having them tag along or you meet them at a bar randomly in a game. Every character's introduction is important, it's unique, it's different. Again, like I said, some of them hit harder than others, but I do like the fact that they decided to emphasize that. The game can be kind of funny at times. I think there's a character named Asher who he calls himself the Viper, but there was like a short little dialogue scene where the reason why he calls himself the Viper is because it sounds cooler. Short little quick funny lines like that in video games always go pretty far for me. And that's basically everything that I got to say about Dragon Age the VeilGuard. So far, I'm loving this game. I'm enjoying this game. Apparently, got a lot of hate online because of the wokeness, but so far in my experience, I haven't really seen too much of that. And even if it does go pretty woke, I don't think it'll change anything at all with regards to my enjoyment level of the game, because so far, giving me story, they've given me characters, fun action, they've made it simple, and I'm enjoying it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please make sure that you guys like this video, comment on this video, share this video on the second channel that you guys are watching this on. Thank you all for 300 subscribers on the main channel. If you're subscribed over there, thank you all for 7,000 subscribers, and I'm out. Peace.